What is up everybody, my name is Captain Giorgio and welcome back to another photography topic episode. Today we'll be talking about aperture and how it affects your photography. Alright, let's jump into it. So what I'm currently doing is breaking down the exposure triangle into 3 episodes, so I've already covered ISO, so check out this link to see it for yourself. But if you want to learn them all, like at once, check out this video, which is the first video I have on this channel, where I go over all 3 of them in action. Alright, so your aperture affects your illumination, your sharpness, and it creates this very cool effect. Let's talk about that. So the first thing I want to let you know about aperture is that it's lens based, meaning that whenever you adjust that F number that you see on your display, you're telling your camera how wide or how narrow the lens should open up for this particular shot. So you see, when I move it to f22, you'll notice that the lens actually closes up more as compared to when I move it to, let's say, f1.8. You'll see that the lens opens up more. So because we are telling the lens how wide or how narrow to open, it affects how much light goes into your photograph. The wider the lens opens up, the more light will get in. But the more narrow the lens becomes, the less light will come in. Aperture is also responsible for the control of depth of field, meaning that you're also controlling how wide or how narrow the depth of field is going to be for your picture. Now, depth of field, let's think about it as a range of focus. So you're going to have a range in which things are going to be in focus before things start to become blurry. The wider your depth of field means that you must have a higher aperture, meaning that you're letting less light in, but you're increasing the range of what's going to be in focus. But if you're shooting with an aperture of, let's say, 3.5, 1.8, that means that your lens is opening up wide enough, meaning more light can come in, but your depth of field will be more narrow. So that's where you're going to get this effect where, things look very sharp for a little bit and then everything else is just blurred out. It's a very cool effect if you ask me. So because of that is the reason why you'll see some lenses are more expensive than others, because they're able to focus on such greater lens and be able to open up with a wide aperture, so you're able to get close-ups of people or things and just be able to have these amazing shot, whereas some lenses don't have that capability or don't have that kind of clarity. So that's why you see some lenses are more expensive than others. And the thing about aperture too is that it determines how wide your like button is. Yeah, I got it there. Now I hope you hit the like button in this video. It really helps me out a lot, especially since I'm just starting out. Alright, let's keep going. Now if you really want to get into specifics, there's actually some measurements to consider when you're calculating how much of a distance everything will be in focus before things get blurry. But don't worry, there's a website I found for that, and I'll show you guys in a bit just how it works. So let's hop into it. So what we have here is a depth of field calculator. So all we got to do is just pretty much put in our camera model. So as you can see, let's take mine for example. I have the Canon T5i. So I'll put this, no, RIP. It's okay though. I'll just use a T4 for example, T4i. And let's say you're the lens of the camera, so what you're shooting with. For example, I have a 50mm. You probably heard that a lot. Or you have like an 18mm, which is pretty wide. But let's take a look at the 50mm, since it's very popular. And let's pick that aperture that I was telling you about earlier. So let's say we have an aperture of 1.8. Click here, you'll be able to access meters and centimeters. Okay, so your range is going to be really small, right? And this is if your subject is 36 inches from you, right, which is 3 feet. 0.84 of an inch. It's going to be a really narrow depth of field, but it can only reach up to 36.4 inches before it starts to get really blurry. The same as if you were to go the other way. So once it starts hitting 35.6 inches, you'll see that it starts becoming blurry again, which is the near limit of acceptance for your photograph. But let's cover what will happen if you shoot at f22. So now you'll see that the total depth of field is going to be increased to 10.9 inches, meaning that your range of the field, meaning everything is going to be in focus, is going to be within the range of 10.9 inches. And that's if your subject is 36 inches away from you. Once it starts reaching 42.3 inches and beyond, like the length of how far your subject is, then it'll become blurry. The same as if you put your subject 31.3 inches and lower, it'll be in focus. But as long as it stays within that range of 10.9, you're fine. Yeah, it's a pretty handy tool, and I think you should check it out and experiment to check out the numbers, try to understand if things are good. So we had conversations about how aperture affects your depth of field. So what happens if you're a landscape photographer and you're trying to cover pretty much the whole scene? What aperture will you use? Well, some people would say, go shoot at f30, you'll definitely get everything. That could be a possible, but there's also one small thing you should consider, and that's diffraction. Here's an example that I found where someone shot with like an f32 and started losing the sharpness of their image because of such a narrow opening. Aperture is one of those topics that can be kind of tricky for those who are just starting out. It certainly was for me. I kind of didn't know anything about depth of field. I thought depth of field was like the blurriness effect, but no, it's like I said before, it's like a range of what's going to be in focus, And don't worry, once you start getting the hang of these numbers, like everything will become second nature, and based on the situation, you're gonna know. You're just gonna know which numbers to use. And if not, I believe there's a camera mode. I think it's this mode right here. Yeah, that's the mode that you want to look into. But the reason why I'm telling you all these things too is because by knowing more about how your camera works, the more creative power you have over it, instead of relying on what the camera sensor sees or what the camera auto picks for you. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video today. Like if you enjoyed this video, very quick video too. Sub if you found value in it, and then hit the bell if you want to see some more videos coming up soon. But yeah, stay safe, experiment with your settings, and remember to always stay creative. Alright, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.